Hi, I'm Jeremy Crosby.
And I'm Nick Boucher. We're the hosts for the program that's all about your city, Talking Fitchburg.
Every day, we pull together the news, events, and information you need to stay on top of what's happening in the city of Fitchburg.
Find Talking Fitchburg on cable TV, Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, and our live stream on the web. Plus, you can view all our headlines and stories on Facebook, YouTube, and our video on demand service. This is your city.
Keep up with Talking Fitchburg and the issues that affect you and your neighbors.
Want to know what's happening in your city? Get Notify Me messages from the City of Fitchburg. Visit fitchburgwi.gov on your computer or mobile device and select the big Notify Me button on the left. Enter your email and/or phone number, whichever is best for you to get notifications. Scroll down the list and select all the topics you're interested in to receive email or text messages about. You'll be notified every time one of your topics is updated. Sign up for Notify Me, one more way to keep up with your Fitchburg government.
Everyone to the Plan Commission meeting for September 17, 2024. First is to call to the order to the meeting at 6:32. Second, approval of minutes.
I move to approve the minutes.
Second.
Any questions, comments about the minute? Here none. All those in favor of approving the minutes of August 20, 2024, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Next, we have.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Agenda review is fine.
No, we have item 3, public appearance for non-agenda item. Do we have? Yeah, we have a register who wishes to speak. Dave Haight. Can you come to the microphone? You have 3 minutes, sir. Okay, this one is.
Yep.
So at the last Plan Commission, I submitted an opinion from the League of Wisconsin Municipalities as to the lawfulness or likely lawfulness of the council's adoption of an amendment to the comprehensive plan in the absence of the Plan Commission's approval of the same amendment. Well, lo and behold, after searching around, in the meeting minutes of the council's 2019 meeting, considering North Stoner Prairie conflict, is that opinion, which was requested by the city attorney, the current city attorney. And it says in a resounding no. It also references an opinion by the city attorney in 2009 when the first comprehensive plan was being considered, to be adopted, saying exactly the same thing. No, it's likely unlawful. So why didn't this show up at the council meeting? Why did the council decide that it had the ability to decide what the law was? I ask you to watch the meeting and observe for yourself the level of comfort that the council members had in determining that they could figure out what the law was in the absence of any help from the attorney. So this implicates both the attorney and the mayor in potential ethical issues. Now, this is somewhat complicated because the city attorney represents the city, which means the council and you, the Plan Commission. When the city attorney relayed a verbal opinion from the attorney to the city council through the administrator saying, at worst it was 50-50, and it was likely lawful, the attorney took a position directly adverse to the interests of this body. So now you have an attorney who's on two sides of an issue, both of which have an adverse interest. You don't want to lose your power, and the council wants to take it. That's deeply problematic from the perspective of the Code of Regulations of Attorney Conduct that's promulgated by the Wisconsin Supreme Court. I'm diligently working on this. I'm not an attorney, but I can observe that you're not likely to get any help from the city attorney. I hope that you will take the time to read what I'll be sending out in the next week or so. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm gonna tell you that I am bringing a minor amendment to the comp plan to change the language.
Doesn't change.
So at least we are trying to do something.
Can I ask, what you keep coming here and talking about this? I served on this body at that point, and I fought that vehemently. And I agree with you in terms of I didn't agree that the city council at the time should do it. What I fail to find out or to understand is why you come before this body, which is not the same body that it was in 2019, to complain about a council that is no longer the council nor the mayor that it was in 2019. I'm getting frustrated because you're opening up some deep wounds for myself. I'm just curious.
They just passed an amendment that you didn't.
Okay. Stop. I am bringing a minor amendment to the comp plan. You will see it to change the language and reverse this. I was one of the council members that was opposed to those changes in 2019, and I'm gonna fix it now. So, okay, that's it. Okay, so next we move to agenda review. Any question, comments? Nope. Okay, so we move to item 5, agenda items, yeah. And I open a public hearing and consideration of rezone RZ 2567-24, request by Diana Porter, agent of Thermoelectro Scientific Instruments, LLC, to rezone property from IS is specialized industrial to BG general business to allow for a club recreational facility located off Spoke Drive. So, okay, we have a couple of people that they wish to speak, and I will call you. Is Diana Porter? She wishes to speak in support. I don't know. Then we have Mark Westover. He wishes to speak in support. And then Carla? I don't know. Craig Stanley.
No worries.
Craig Stanley, sorry, Craig. He wishes to speak in support. So, okay, go ahead.
We're really here to answer any questions that you have. We are working with the Y, but because of the nature of the ownership of the property, Thermo Fisher is the actual owner submitting the zoning change prior to the closing of the land. So Deanna has submitted the proposal on behalf of Thermo Fisher, but also on behalf of the YMCA, which is looking at a new project for the site. In your package, you have sort of a site plan. You have our timeline. We're here to answer questions. I think Mark has actually early rendering of what the project conceptually could be. One of the things in your plan is this project obviously is a very expensive project. We do have a major donor, but this project also will need to raise north of $15 million. So we're just applying for the zoning change. We'll obviously come back with details of the actual project, but this is high level what we're looking for at this point. Happy to answer any questions.
And I think the timeline that we submitted with the package 2 is what we're hoping to achieve, but obviously we are beholden to the capital raise and the timing of that. So
it could accelerate if we're lucky, knock on wood, but we try to give you a conservative outline of when the project would be done, assuming the capital raise.
Okay. Okay, so I will close the public hearing, and also I will ask staff for the report.
Sure. So as you are aware, what is proposed is a new facility for the YMCA. Staff does note that the facility is proposed to be 100,000 square feet approximately. The current BG zoning does not allow up to 100,000 square feet, so staff is planning to bring forward a change to the BG code in the coming months. The other thing I'd just point out to you from the staff memo is that in 2022, during the plat approval process, so this originally came before Plan Commission as a CDP back in 2022, and then also a plat in 2022. At that time, there was a request from Plan Commission and from Tree Advisory to provide a tree study, a survey of the trees on the property. There were some quality trees located on the site. Staff will continue to work with the design team from the Y to protect any trees that we can. This proposal would still be subject to architectural design review once the zoning is figured out, and then staff recommends approval with a couple of changes on the recommendation. So bear with me. The first thing we would like to, or staff is suggesting on condition number 2, to add a sentence at the end that child care centers are social services, parentheses 83, with the permitted use of BG. And I'll explain that a little bit more. In our zoning ordinance, it refers to the standard industrial codes, and within that standard industrial code of 83, it does allow the facilities that are proposed here. I also will request that the Plan Commission adds a 5th condition, and that condition would change the title of the zoning request. You'll note that the current title says Club Recreational Facility. The applicants request that language be struck, and then instead put in Fitness and Health Center and Child Care Facility. So staff recommends approval with those 5 conditions.
Can you read that revised title again, please?
The revised title is
So remove club, and then what were the...
remove Club Recreational Facility, and instead insert Fitness and Health Center and Child Care Facility.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, thank you. So I open now the discussion to the plan commissioners. So I'm going to start. I think this is great for the city. I am very happy that, the YMCA is relocating to Fitchburg. So one thing is that I mentioned that when we have our private meeting about the 300 spaces for the parking lot, it seems like the parking lot is bigger than the facility and the surface, and I have an issue. If we can't rethink, I don't know. Maybe this is what I don't know what is going to be the capacity, how many people are going to be at the same time, and then this is what you need to have 300 parking spaces, but I would think if you can, fewer. I don't know. Gabriela.
I'm also really excited to see the YMCA come. When I first heard about it, I was very excited. So love seeing some of the renderings, the early renderings. That's wonderful. I just think it's a really good fit for Fitchburg, and really love that it's right off of the bike path. So I can see a lot of people using their bikes to get there, which seems like a really perfect alignment of what the YMCA stands for in terms of recreation and health. And I appreciate the effort to save some of those trees on the site. I personally think that always makes places look more beautiful when the old trees still exist. So thanks for putting in the work to make that happen to the extent possible. I know hickories in particular are really hard to grow in cities. So if those are able to be saved.
Northern end, if possible, relative to the parking. So they're at the northern end of the parking. I think the tree survey showed most of them on the northern part of the parcel.
Great.
So
really
some of them actually, the tree survey is outside the parcel. So, but yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you for working on that. I appreciate it. And we're excited to see this. Thanks.
Any other comment? No? Okay, so all those in favor of the reason.
Do we have a motion?
Oh, no, you
I'll
got
make a
to do it.
motion.
Sorry.
Make a motion to approve rezone RZ-2567-24 with the 5 conditions noted by staff.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor to rezone RZ 2567-24, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Thank you. So next, I open the public hearing and consideration of rezone RZ-2566-24, request by Craig Frank, agent from Wingra Real Estate LLC, to rezone property from PDD-GIP, that is the Planned Development District General Implementation Plan, to PDD-SIP, that is a Planned Development District Specific Implementation Plan, to allow for a multifamily residential development in the Jamestown Quarry neighborhood located off of Ficherona Road. So we have, what is it? Corey? Okay. Is Corey or Craig?
We have Corey here. Craig is there.
What is it? Corey Frank? Okay. Okay. Yep. Sorry, I cannot miss. Okay. Corey Frank, who wishes to speak in support of the above matter. Okay, so.
Corey Frank here on behalf of CF Investments, Craig Frank's son. So we're here today to answer any questions you may have about this project. Not much has changed in the grand scheme of things since the CDP and GIP submittals, more so a couple more months of fully refining the plans and getting to the best possible site and building plans we could for this particular site. So this here is a 273-unit, 4-story multifamily building. It features a 4-story parking ramp in the middle of the building. What that allows for is significantly more covered parking than a typical style apartment, as well as allowing tenants to park on their own floor near their units, getting directly into the hallway by their units. It also allows for a large rooftop amenity space. This building in particular, with how the building ended up laying out, the rooftop amenity space will have a real nice view to the east and northeast. A few things to note: 6.5 acre lot. It's really a very, very tricky site, which is part of the reason it's been sitting for so long. It has a pretty significant grade change due to when Ficherona Road was cut in, and currently has fill material mounted fairly high. So we really went the extra mile in taking time to come up with a design that fit the site to the best of its ability, and also keeping the neighbors in mind to the north, and working with the lot lines as best as possible. Here's Deanna brought up a couple cross sections, which a little hard to see on the screen, but we provided in the application material to kind of show the contours of the site as compared to Ficherona Road. Basically, the west half of the building was put at the best possible first floor elevation to work with the site, and then between some foundation exposure and dropping the east half of the building a full story, we made up about 15 feet of grade from the west end of the building to the east to work with the slope of Ficherona Road and minimize the grade change to best of our ability, and also kept in mind the existing grades for the at the lot lines to the north and northeast. And I guess with that, I'll open it up to any questions you may have.
Yeah, I need to close the public hearing first. I am closing the public hearing, and then we are going to a staff report, and then to the plan commissioners. Okay.
All right, so what is before you this evening? Here is a rezone to Planned Development District SIP. This project has already come before you as comprehensive development plan, preliminary plat, and PDD GIP. And actually, the next item on your agenda is the final plat for this overall Jamestown quarry. So just a little bit of context here. I think that Corey did a real good explanation of the project. I did specifically request Corey provide the elevations just to kind of help maybe me more to kind of understand. But, you know, this is Fitchburg Road, different slices through the building from west to east. And so you can see kind of the elevation of Fitchburg Road and how the building itself will sit. And the dashed line is the existing grade, right? So if that kind of makes sense. This is the existing building to the north. And Corey, we've been working with Corey to make sure we have some fencing along that north property line and some additional plantings and screening. So that's something that we've been working with Corey on. And then the other thing I just would point out is some of the elevations and the material colors. And let's see if there's something else I want to just touch on. Staff did note that there is a 10-foot multi-use path along Fitchburg Road that will impact this property too, for the long-term of the development of the entire area. So staff does recommend approval of the rezone with 6 conditions, and then approval of the architectural design review with 19 conditions.
Okay, thank you. I open the floor for questions. Well, I'm going to say something. I love the idea that you have the parking in the middle in the ramp. I think this is the best use of parking. So,
I think one thing I forgot to mention, so that allowed for a total of 1.66 parking stalls per unit, which is significantly higher than what you typically see for multifamily. With Fitchburg Road and not wanting or not having any street parking and how busy it eventually may be, we wanted to make sure we have more than enough to where there's no need for overflow parking anywhere for guests and tenants.
Yeah, so this is great. Any question, Gabriela?
Also, just mirror that. I think I'm excited about this plan. I'm really excited to see it play out. So thanks for bringing it to us. I'm curious just more about, from a functional perspective, about parking. We usually put in these, more from a staff perspective, we usually talk about the minimum amount of parking in the like the rezone and the conditions. But I thought that we didn't have a minimum amount of parking as part of our ordinances.
We don't. I guess we wouldn't need to have that. With these PDDs, we're kind of just following the standard of how things were done in the past. We're not giving Corey a certain number. He's bringing forward what he thinks is appropriate for his development. In my experience, that's what the developers have been doing in Fitchburg, is bringing forward the number of parking spaces that they think is appropriate. I certainly understand, and we don't have to have that minimum off-street parking. It would be my comment.
Where is that?
I guess maybe it's not on this one. Maybe it's on a future one.
Yeah, you'll actually see it in the staff recommendation for the rezone, number 4, and then you'll go to G. That's where staff has put it.
Yeah, minimum off-street parking, 1.45 stalls per unit. Yeah, I'm not sure I've had an issue with it on this particular project. It's just, it seems like if somebody, it creates the perception that we're requiring a certain number of stalls, when I think theoretically if we made an approval and a developer wanted to put in fewer parking stalls, we certainly would not want to require them to put in more than they desire at the end of the process, which I think it could be better to, if we don't have minimums, to not include that as a rule unless we truly think that we need that amount. Anyway, that would be just a general recommendation. And then in terms of the off, because I appreciate, so there's no street parking.
Correct.
Okay.
So there's approximately 70 surface parking stalls for guests and overflow for tenants, and then the rest are all in the internal parking ramp.
Great. So that's the purpose for those extras, is really for guests.
Yeah, and we also have about 20 townhomes as well, and we're on a little higher side than most recent projects as far as 2 and 3 bedroom units. So we really just, we had the ability with the parking ramp, so we want to take full advantage of making sure there's no question there's going to be ample parking for the future.
Great. Thank you.
Any other question? Josh?
Maybe this one bridges into the next item a little bit here, but when we start to look at traffic for this area, right, and that's quite a conversation topic for this final plat, do we anticipate that kind of this area, those intersections would be affected, or do we anticipate that that will primarily revolve around where I guess Fitchburg hits McKee?
Good question. We've been working diligently over the last few months on various versions of traffic impact analysis. Analyses, I guess I should say. In general, we've found that the apartments are not a big generator of traffic. With the upcoming final plat, there are going to be necessary improvements with the entire development that takes into account the future commercial. There are necessary improvements to the McKee-Fitchburg intersection and the McKee and the Fitchburg area that we are looking at.
So, okay, thank you for the clarity. I guess the follow-up question for me is then, do we not anticipate that like any of the outcomes of that would compromise kind of the meets and bounds that are laid here? We're not going to see a widening of the road there that would suddenly push out any buffer or anything like that, or?
Yeah. Good question. This is a very good question. We have already planned for a widening of Fitchburg, and Corey is aware of it.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Any other questions? No? Okay, so
I'll move to approve rezone RZ-2566-24 with the 6 conditions noted by staff.
Second.
any additional comments, question? I hear none. All those in favor of the rezone RZ 2566-24 say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. So next one.
And if we just move it, or do we need to talk more
No,
about?
we already talked about. You already talked about that.
I talked about
Yeah.
it. I
I'll
put
move
them
it.
all together.
I'll move approval of the ADR for Jamestown Quarry Apartments SIP.
Second.
Any additional comments, questions? No? Okay. All those in favor of the ADR for Jamestown Quarry Apartments CIP, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next. Okay, 1 second.
I think you're ready.
What is this one? Okay, so next is final plat FP-2565-24, request by Jess Handley, agent for Wingra Real Estate LLC, to approve a final plat in order to subdivide one existing parcel into 10 new parcels, including 6 buildable parcels in the Jamestown Quarry neighborhood on property located off of Ficherona Road. Okay, so do we have Chris Townsend and Jeffrey Handley they wish to speak? So
Good evening. I'm Jeff Hundley. I'm here to answer any questions you have, and with me is Chris Dawson.
that's it?
Yep.
Okay.
Sure.
I guess that's on to me then.
Yes.
Okay. So this is the Same general project that we have just looked at. The previous two items were Lot 5 with the multifamily. And so now this is bringing forward the final plat for the entire area of the former Ringler Quarry. The property is within the Anton Drive redevelopment plan. What is here is consistent with the future land use plan and the Anton Drive. What you'll see up at the front here is 4 lots that would be for various highway-type businesses, such as quick serve restaurant, a fast food restaurant, car wash, bank is what is proposed. There is a private road designated as an outlot right here, and then outlot 3 will remain until there's further planning and development to further define what that is actually going to be. At the preliminary plat level, applicants provided a traffic analysis by Toddy that found that road improvements were necessary in order to maintain the current traffic level service of C. So the next step for this project is to, if the final plat is approved, the next step is to work through the traffic impact analysis and the subdivision improvement agreement in order to move forward with the public infrastructure that's needed. Staff also notes that there was a tree inventory that was submitted with the preliminary plat. While there is significant wooded areas, there was no high quality trees found within the wooded areas. Much of this existing site was filled over the last few years, and the tree canopy is simply more scrub kinds of things. Further detail on the architectural standards, the pedestrian linkages, and other landscape design will be coming to you shortly, I believe, as a rezone to the planned development district that would include this front portion of the property. That's what's expected to come next. So staff has a fairly long list of conditions, but staff does recommend approval with those 23 conditions.
Okay, thank you. Question, Gabriel?
Curious about the traffic impacts. This is the first time I've been through a process where it indicated like a need for significant changes to the traffic. So let me just ask this first. Is it typical to do the final plat and then tackle the traffic issues after? Like, is a typical process, or is this unusual?
No, we're doing this all jointly because addressing the traffic issues has to also be addressed with if there's additional right-of-way needed, right? So this is happening all jointly with the final plat to understand the traffic needs, to understand what amount of right-of-way might be needed for various intersections. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, but there's no concern. I guess we don't think that this is a problem that's insurmountable.
Oh, no, of course not.
Yeah.
Right, Jeff?
It's just a matter of...
In the traffic study we assumed the worst-case scenario for all the property so that anything we do is going to be at a lesser level than what we based the study on.
Okay.
So like Lot 4 and Outlot 1 are based off of kind of that worst case scenario, right?
Yeah,
if we had
correct.
really widened that stretch of Fitchburg right there, you'd still be able to get usable, buildable area of what you need kind of thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
The big lot there, we assumed, I think, 160,000 foot single box of retail. And that's not what we're going to do.
Okay.
Who is paying for all the road changes?
The developer.
Okay, no, I am asking.
So these are good questions,
yeah.
actually. So once we've been working with Public Works
Okay.
and the engineering team throughout this process, even at the initial stage with the comprehensive development plan, further details through the preliminary plat. We're continuing to refine.
Okay.
So really, the next step is to finalize a subdivision improvement agreement that lays out exactly what the developer will need to do in terms of public improvements, in terms of sewer and water lines, in terms of sidewalks, and then in terms of roadway improvements, whether where a lighted intersection might need to be. And so that is the responsibility of the developer to install those public improvements.
Okay.
Go
Carol,
ahead.
and then you, Josh.
I was just going to say, I think, when we did this particular plan and when we also put Hy-Vee and Target up there, we knew this was going to be a destination that was going to generate a lot of traffic. And I think even we overestimated when we did Hy-Vee. And if I remember right, Mike, you might remember, I think we're under in trips that we anticipated for those builds as well. So I think we have some banked trips, if you will, that, this is an area we expect it, we want it, we want the traffic, this is where we want this. So I'm not worried about it. Just putting that out there.
I would say there's a clear widening to the south of McKee, though, right? And so I would imagine that something similar is going to have to happen north. And it's good to hear that that's being considered at the same time, and that it's been taken into account for this. Because I wouldn't want to go through this whole process just for us to find out that the road is making it untenable for some of these lots. My question was, can you just describe in general directionality for the two kind of buildable corners here where we expect stormwater to flow? Like, which way the grade is going, kind of once you anticipate these being developed?
Sure. Is it actually on?
Yeah, it's
okay.
green.
Yeah, so with it having been a previous quarry, it is to a large degree technically classified as an internally drained area. And so theoretically, nothing leaves the site during any storm event. So that is a challenge that we've been working through, and I think that has been slightly adjusted when Fitchburg Road was extended. But we've worked with Public Works to determine what the true metric needs to be in that regard for how much water can actually leave the site post-development. And Outlot 1 is going to be a regional pond that treats lots 1 through 4.
What is one?
So they will all
What is
contribute.
Outlot 1.
Oh, that one. Okay.
Lots 1 through 4, and then the Outlot 2, which is the roadway through the plat. All of that will be collected and distributed to Outlot 1 as a stormwater treatment facility.
What about for Lot 5?
Lot 5 has their own
you
dedicated treatment.
Yep. And you might recall, I can bring that up quick too.
That's right, on that end. Yeah, okay. So while she brings that up, because I am remembering the pond now, there isn't necessarily an anticipation that, like, because it is centrally draining, like you're saying, that there's going to be like significantly more flooding issues even just within the Wingra quarry as it exists right now. The infield portion, I guess, is what I'm asking about.
Right. So what we're limited to right now is the stormwater infrastructure that was installed with the extension of Fitchburg Road is kind of the limiting factor of how much we can actually dump into that public system. So working with Public Works, they gave us a definitive number per the 100-year storm event on how much we can discharge to that system. And then just by typical design values, we can't exceed existing conditions because not all of the site goes that way. Some of it does go towards the municipal boundary and the City of Madison system. So we would have to meet the typical regulations for that in terms of discharge. But as far as the infield goes, hard to say at this time, but I would assume that the expectation for now is that they would have to follow a similar metric.
Okay. Thank you.
Any questions?
I have one more. For the Outlot 2 road, does that connect back up to McKee?
It does, and it is a right in, right out only.
Oh, okay, so it'll be, gotcha. I was kind of curious about that.
Can you explain? I didn't understand.
So Outlot 2 is effectively the private roadway, and it will connect to McKee, but it will only allow right turns into the development and right turns out of the development. A cut in the median was not allowed per city discussion, and the county has a say here as well because of the county PD. They agreed with that sentiment that there will not be a median cut.
Okay. Any other question, Gabriela?
I noticed in the explanation that it's saying that outlot, what is the big lot that's not currently being developed?
Outlot 3.
Outlot 3. It said, so what are the potential options? Because I feel like I read here that, is it possible that it could be include housing in it as well? Or is it, okay. Can you talk about the potential options for what that could look like?
You want me to take that?
Yeah, I think you actually made a suggestion about another multifamily building, and
Yeah.
so we're working with Corey. That's one possibility.
Okay. So that's possible within the, we'd have to rezone it, but we can't, it's an outlaw.
Actually, we would need to do a minor comp plan amendment for that, because right now, in the future land use map, it does not allow for high-density residential. It's medium-density residential or all commercial. But the team is aware of that. And then we would also need to do an update to the comprehensive development plan in order to bring that forward. So,
Okay, so kind of all things are on the table in terms of business, housing, or a mixed business and housing.
Be some retail and multifamily is what we think.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know we've expressed this before, and I know you'll hear this from the council too at some point down the line. There is a dislike for large swaths of parking.
Yeah.
I think you've heard that message, but I just wanted to say, because you're going to hear it again at council if you, just when it comes back. But yeah, I know this site is really complicated with all that, that fill. So appreciate you bringing and working with this and hearing our feedback. So thank you for that.
So you're not going to be able to do underground parking if you do housing there because of the quarry. Okay, this is for another conversation.
In this particular instance, that would not be desirable just because of how much excess material there is. So digging a larger basement, I guess, would not be, just doesn't really shake out for this particular site.
I'll move to approve final plat FP-2565-24 with the 23 conditions noted by staff.
Second.
Any other additional comments, question? All those in favor of final plat FP-2565-24, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carried. Okay, thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so the next two items, E and F, we need to postpone.
So staff would just request if someone could make a motion to postpone to a date uncertain conditional use 2563-24 and ADR of the Seminole Pickleball Courts.
So moved.
Second.
So we are doing the two together?
I think that's fine.
It's fine? Yes? Okay. All those in favor of postponing conditional use CU-2563-24 and ADR Seminole Pickleball Court to an uncertain day, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carried. Okay. So next, on item G, conditional use CU-2562-24, request by David Porto, agent for Chofia LLC, to obtain a restaurant conditional use permit to operate a catering prep kitchen located on property associated with 5302 Anton Drive. Okay, we have a, what?
To do a
No, I don't have a public here. I have a condition.
Oh, that's right.
Okay.
Okay.
So
I'm off.
we have David Porto, who wishes to speak in support. So, David.
My Italian grandmother would very much appreciate the pronunciation of my name, so thank you for that.
Oh, no. It was a guess. You struggle with all these names, so.
Good evening. My name is David. I currently serve as Blue Plate Catering's general manager, and then I'm one of our partners. And so I've worked at Blue Plate for about 20 years or so. It will be 20 this December. And we currently operate out of the Holy Name Heights property on the west side of Madison. It's near the Princeton Club. It's the old Holy Name Seminary. We've been there for 14 years, and we are outgrowing our space. And so we found the property at 5302 and saw that it would have a lot of benefits for the next phase of Blue Plate Catering. So we started moving towards speaking with the owner of the building to lease or purchase the building, and settled on purchasing the building outright. And so through conversations with both Deanna and Zach, we have reached out to both commercial and private residents in the area to gain feedback and have conversations with them. We had a neighborhood meeting last night. It was not super well attended, but it was attended by some people, which is great. And the overwhelming response was that residents especially would be excited to see an entity in that building. I know it sort of sat as the future home of an organization for most of the last 3 years. So they were really excited that something would functionally move in and then be utilizing that space.
Okay. Thank you. Deanna?
Sure. Operations that are proposed here are generally consistent with what was approved in the previous facility in 2022. Operations will include a prep kitchen that is used for catering production. Proposed hours of operation are to be 5 p.m. and actually I need to make a change on that. The applicants request that the hours of operation, this would be condition number 3, be 5 a.m. to 9 p.m., if that works for Plan Commission. Proposed, there's potentially 30 full-time staff. However, this conditional use before you this evening is not including event space or a public restaurant. However, Mr. Porto has indicated his interest of perhaps bringing forward a new conditional use in the future that would allow for some event space or meeting space. But that's not before us this evening. So staff does recommend approval with the 8 conditions. However, we request that the hours of operation be from 5 a.m. to 9 p.m.
Okay, thank you. I open the floor. Okay, Josh.
I just first wanted to say, really excited to see this organization potentially come to Fitchburg. You guys have a really good reputation in town, so we're excited to have you guys potentially join us here. I'm just curious if a setup like this really feels like it lends itself to maybe take and bake meal sales, something like a Pasture and Plenty or something like that. Is that something you guys have considered at all? And I guess would this even allow for kind of a small storefront in that way?
We have found a large amount of success in doing almost exclusively pre-order catering. There was the time in COVID where we were serving, we had a few contracts with Madison to serve some people struggling with homelessness being housed in hotels. And so we did that for the 432 straight days. It was a little over 300,000 individually packaged meals. So we might be a little tired of seeing the boxes and closing them every single meal. But one of the pieces that I'm most excited about, my wife and I live about 3 miles west off of PD, just north, sort of by the Prairie Ridge Conservancy. And we attend church at Redeemer City Church, which is 4 doors down from the 5302 building. And our church has a little free pantry. And so one of the things about catering where we live in this day and age is you have to have enough and you can't run out. And so we've always looked for an opportunity to be able to utilize some of that excess. So maybe not necessarily a take and bake for sale. However, having there be like maybe a little free cooler or something along those lines where we would be able to serve the neighborhood in a way that would really help.
Yeah, no, that's great to hear. I appreciate, the clarification, and certainly think
Thanks for asking.
Based on the neighborhood, that would be, I'm sure, well received and a benefit. So thank you.
I have a question. So when are you anticipating to start operating in that facility?
We are closing on October 15th.
Oh, okay.
And we have done a lot of, this is a very rough drawing on our team. I am the big picture visionary guy. So my technological prowess is much less than our director of operations. So he's gone into an actual program and built out the space really, really well. It's a little bit of a sore subject because he's my brother and he's better than me at that. But it has been a joy to sort of build out the space. And we have our first official meeting with an architect tomorrow morning at 9:30. And what the architect has shared from seeing the initial plans is that the architectural process will be much easier because we have a really good idea of what we want this space to look like. And we're walking in mostly to an open box.
Yeah.
So that's very helpful. We're not taking down a whole lot of things. We're really putting up walls and doing that. So if all goes well with our level of business, with the way that the year works out, we would hope to move in and be functionally operating out of the space by the end of April.
Oh, okay.
If that wouldn't happen, we would most likely move in somewhere around the Thanksgiving time, which we would, unless there was a rogue week or 2 weeks in the middle of summer, which hasn't happened in the last 20 years, where not a whole lot would be going on for Blue Plate. So that's the anticipation.
Okay, good to know. Okay.
Thank you.
Any other comments?
I'll move approval of conditional use request CU 2562-24 with the 8 conditions noted by staff, with a revision to condition 3, which would change the hours of operation that are approved to 5 a.m. to 9 p.m.
Second.
All those in favor of the conditional use CU-2562-24 say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Thank you. Welcome to Fitchburg.
Hey, thank you. We appreciate it.
Okay, so next we move to item H. It's about certified survey map CS-2564-24 request by Joe Bobersmith. How do you pronounce Bobersmith? Agent for No Oaks Ranch LLC to approve a certified survey map to create a one buildable lot from 2 existing outlots in the 9 Spring neighborhood on property located off Central Park Place. Do we have someone here for H? No. No? Okay.
Scott, is there anybody online?
No, maybe Mike can come and talk. You're here.
I think I can take this one then. This one is pretty straightforward, but this is actually a pretty exciting first step here. This is really the first proposed project in the Nine Springs area north of Lacey, right? And east of the railroad tracks. So this is kind of the first step for the Boberschmidt. We referred the area of the land as the Boberschmidt lands or the No Oaks land. So that's kind of how it ended up in here. And what is proposed is taking an existing lot and creating 3 outlots and then 1 buildable lot. The outlot 1 is for pedestrian path, bicycle, stormwater, and environmental corridor. Outlot 3 is actually for the vision triangle for the railroad track. This is what has been happening with all of our subdivisions and CSMs along the railroad tracks. The railroad requires a significant vision triangle. And then Outlot 2 is just reserved for a private driveway. This is in Smart Code. So this project, once approved, once the CSM is approved, then it moves into administrative review under Article 5. But what is proposed is multifamily, approximately 110 multifamily units. And right now, Corey Frank, who was just here for Jamestown earlier, he is the one that's looking at developing those multifamily apartments. And so this project could hopefully move relatively fast and kind of kickstart the rest of the development north of Lacey and for that whole Smart Code area. So staff doesn't have any problems with the CSM. We recommend approval with the 12 conditions, and I will certainly try to answer any questions.
Thank you. Okay, I open the floor for question, comments. Gabriel.
So we do have a builder that's interested in developing it?
Yeah, Corey Frank, who was just here for the multifamily in Lot 5. Yeah.
So what's the next step after this?
Yeah, well, the next step here is that the CSM, if approved by Plan Commission and Council, will also need to be working with Public Works on a subdivision improvement agreement. Of course, in this case, Central Park Place is there. There's probably not so much public infrastructure needed in this particular project, but there is probably some work that's going to have to be done in terms of some of the stormwater and utility connections. I don't know all the details about the public improvements at this time. After this CSM is recorded, the subdivision improvement agreement is complete, then the developers can undertake those whatever public improvements and submit for Article 5 under Smart Code. And Zach is the specialist in Article 5s, but
flatters me.
But it's basically the Smart Code version of an architectural design review. Does that kind of make sense?
But it's not going to come here.
No, we
It's all
don't. The
internal.
Smart Code ones don't come to Plan Commission.
So we can accelerate the process.
We can accelerate the process, yes. Yep, and after Article 5 approval, then they can apply for building permit.
So do you know when if we approve all of this, when are they planning to start with the process, to build here or no?
I don't have a firm timeline, but there has been some indication that they would be interested in starting some work this fall.
Oh,
Yes.
really? Okay.
This project can move very fast.
Okay.
It's not a big, complex project.
So what would we expect to see next then on this? Nothing?
Nothing.
Nothing when it's built.
Okay.
The ribbon cutting.
Okay.
Is this exclusively housing, or would there be any commercial on the ground floor or anything of that nature?
No, not at this particular time. I think there's certainly Smart Code is designed to facilitate mixed use, commercial on the bottom, residential on the top. In this particular situation, Central Park Place probably doesn't lend itself too much for the commercial piece. It's probably going to be looking better to get our commercial, whatever we can support, closer to Lacey. And this is actually going to be a kind of a tight site, and one thing that they'll be working on is to make sure that they can meet whatever parking they believe they need, whatever drainage and stormwater that they need.
So where it is, because you said north of Lacey, so
Yeah,
I'm trying to figure out where it is.
I can get that for you. Great question.
Where?
Yep, you're exactly right. So here's the Lafayette, and this is the parcel that we're looking at right now.
Oh, that one is.
Yep,
Lacey?
here.
Oh.
Here's Lacey.
Oh,
Here's
okay,
here's the interchange with
yes,
14.
yeah.
So if you take your first right, and you got the little roundabout, this is Central Park Place. So this is the location.
This is the location, okay. And what is the other lot south of that? That one is a buildable lot, or it's kind of like an outlot?
This one right here is actually public property. This is actually the city parkland and drainage.
Oh, okay.
I think late last year, this is the 7th addition to Nine Springs. We, Plan Commission approved a plat here. But that project has been slowed down as the city is working out potential regional stormwater drainage. So the city is considering and developing a regional stormwater location up here on the property up here. And as we're working through that's going to be a factor in how the development proceeds in the rest of the area. So if we don't have the regional stormwater facilities, then each of the individual developers are going to have to work out where they put their stormwater. So one of the reasons that particular final plat has kind of got slowed down is working out the details if we're going to move ahead with the regional, how that's going to look. And then staff has kind of been, and also Avante is the developer of this. They've kind of shifted some of their attention back down into these lots too.
And also they want to have that road built too.
Yes. What is proposed is that in that final plat that Plan Commission approved, there would be a public road that would connect right along that line. And then there'd also be Balboa Pass that would connect down to Lacey. And then what is proposed are several lots off of that. So I guess that's what I was kind of talking a little bit about. Probably whatever commercial the area can support probably needs to be a little bit closer to Lacey.
Can you tell about if everything goes fine, the project on the north or no?
A little bit, yes. So all of these lands are the Holmes, what we refer as the Holmes-Boberschmidt family lands. The actual entity that owns the lands is called No Oaks, but they own all of this, including the area of the CSM. Under Smart Code, this area has been master planned for probably well over 10 years. And so what we are expecting is that once we get this, if things move on this particular lot, then this might open up the next stage. We have our fingers crossed that we maybe could bring a preliminary plat for these areas to Plan Commission early next year.
Yeah, and this is great because this is all infill land, you know what I mean?
It is, yeah. So, this is very great. You can smile now, Mike.
If we're still waiting on that regional stormwater, is this single development that we're talking about here then responsible for its own stormwater in that outlet?
Yeah, they're working with the engineering team, but they've developed a couple of options for solution for this project to go forward without the regional. But great question.
The regional pond can cost almost $3 million.
Right, yeah, and I'm thrilled that we're talking about that and thinking about it for this space. I just, if other large swaths of this are waiting on that, I was just curious how this one is being considered. So that's great. Thank you.
Is this section right here? Is that right now? It looks like green space on Google Maps. Is that developable land too, or is that like an environmental corridor?
Yeah, this is environmental corridor in here.
Really? Oh.
Here I can. have all my.
It'll be beautiful for the.
These are
residents.
our mapped environmental corridors here.
Got it.
In green.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they'll have nice views, which is good.
And the city owns those ones?
Most of them on the west side of the railroad tracks we own. We own these. Right now, we do not own these in here. These are still part of the Holmes-Bobber Schmidt ownership.
Okay. Okay, so I need a motion.
I'll move approval of certified survey map CS 256424.
Second.
All those in favor of the certified survey map, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carried. Thank you. Okay, so next we move to item I. Is the ADR Seminole Pool request by John Feller, agent of the Seminole Pool Association, to obtain an architectural design review approval to allow for the renovation of the existing neighborhood pool on property associated with 5948 Schumann Drive. We had two people to the wish to speak, and we have Katie McDonald and Matt Gross. I cannot read the other one. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Hi. Hello.
Good evening.
Okay. What is this about?
We're here today to present our ADR plan for you. I am speaking in substituting for John Feller. I'm co-chair of our Seminole 2.0, our basically new pool committee, and just here to kind of, because I'll probably see you guys quite a bit as we go through all this.
My name is Katie McDonald. I am here with Parkitecture in support of the Seminole Pool Association for the project we're bringing forward to you, which is a redevelopment of the existing Seminole Pool facility. We are looking at doing 2 stages to this project. Initially, we had hoped to do a full redevelopment of the site, increasing the number of pools and vessels that are there and the amount of pool space, and increasing the parking lot. For the first phase, tonight we are simply looking at replacing the existing bathhouse, and that would happen hopefully over this winter period. For use this coming spring with the existing facility. And then within the next several years, we are looking at replacing the entire site.
Okay. Deanna?
Yeah, so as was mentioned, there's 2 phases at this time, and the first phase would be just replacing and building a new pool house, and there's elevations and details in your packet, so you can kind of see what that looks like. And then phase 2 would happen at a later date. The second phase would expect to allow the club to increase their membership, and then at that same time, they do expect to increase their parking stalls at that time. Staff notes that there are approximately 10 existing trees on the site that would be required to be removed in phase 2 in the parking lot. However, mature trees along the perimeter of the property is expected to be preserved. The only thing that I would just say that the architectural design review approval before you tonight is good for 1 year. That's per code. And the second phase, when it does come forward for building permit, will need a new architectural design review. So staff does recommend approval with 11 conditions.
Okay, so I would say I was a member of the Seminole Pool for many, many years with my children, so, we enjoy that facility, and I'm glad that you are renovating, so it's look great. My question about, can you show us, you mentioned that you're going to increase the parking. Where? Because I want to see, where is going to be that?
Yeah, so the parking lot is, this is the full build out with the second phase. And I think
I was going to say, maybe the page after that actually had
Thank you.
So this shows the proposed building on the existing site. The existing site, the pool, as you can see on this aerial photo, is tilted at a 45-degree angle to kind of the street frontage along Schumann. And so as we look to increase the amount of parking and maximize how much, pool area we could put onto this site, we're taking that 45-degree back out. And that opens up an additional bay's width of extra parking. So right now we've got one, kind of full lot width of parking, and by shifting the building back into the site a little bit further, it allows for a whole second row.
Okay. But you are in phase one. Are you moving the building north, or you're going to use this existing,
It overlaps the existing building. The existing building again is on that 45-degree angle.
Okay.
And so we're gonna align the building frontage so it faces Schumann, and it overlaps the northern half of the existing building, but it doesn't quite fall on the same footprint. It pushes into the existing pool deck a little bit.
My other thing is, if you're going to remove the 10 existing trees, me, because we share park commission together, we need to replant those trees. So, yes.
And that is understood. The existing 10 trees that we are looking at removing all fall within the developed area. So they are either trees that are currently in front of the existing building or are in existing parking lot islands. And so as we reconstruct the site, we will have to take those down, and then we will replace them in the new parking lot or along the building frontage.
Okay. So do you know when the time frame from phase one and phase two?
My understanding is that they are, best case scenario, again, hoping to replace the building this winter. And then the future phases will happen sometime within the next 2 to 5 years.
Yeah, fundraising is ongoing. And we also just completed the summer, and we got member feedback as far as waiting for the entire, that we're able to do the project all at once, in favor, or if they're in favor of phasing it out. So we're kind of collecting that information right now, and knowing that, we're kind of under the gun per se as far as getting with the timeline with winter approaching eventually.
Yeah. So do you know how much it's going to cost this project when it's complete? Do you know how much is going to be the investment?
I mean, it varies. Right now, I feel like it's like watching a barometer go up and down.
It's probably in the $3 to $5 million range to do a full reconstruction.
And I am also happy that you're increasing the membership. I remember those days where it was a lottery. I don't know if it's still like that, but yes, it was a fun time. Any other comment, question? No? Okay. So, all those in favor of the...
Do we need a motion? I'll move approval of the ADR for Seminole Pool.
Second.
All those in favor of the ADR for the Seminole Pool, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Okay. Good luck.
Thank you.
Okay.
Nice meeting all of you.
Thank you.
So next we move to item 6, and it's report from the department. So do we have anything to report from the Ag and Rural Affairs Committee?
Shelley could not join us this evening, and she is your rep on Agricultural and Rural Affairs Committee. Agriculture and Rural Affairs Committee did not meet this evening. We are planning to meet in October.
Okay, thank you. Report from Transportation and Transit.
Yeah, so we got like a photo tour of the new bus rapid transit in Madison from Ross, the transportation engineer, and a long discussion about how that would work in anticipation of potentially having that in Fitchburg in the future. We talked a little bit about the surface maintenance. You guys may have been seeing the Seminole Highway Osmondson and Nesbitt Fitchburg has been all like bumpy. So if you're curious what that is, they milled off the slurry layer, which is like a type of crack fill, because it really is just not best practice anymore. It flakes off. It's not very long lasting. And it left the rough surface, and then they basically they have to replace it with a layer of asphalt. And I guess it needed time. And so anyway, they know that it's a problem. They're working on getting a new layer of asphalt on it. And it'll be a chip seal for Osmondson instead. So Public Works knows it's a problem and is regrets that it's been such a long problem. Then we restricted parking on they passed it. It'll go to council, but Brassica Drive, which is in the Terravesa neighborhood where there's the issue with buses, that is going to be fixed like by removing parking on one side. And interestingly, it was also a problem for Madison Metro buses. It wasn't just school buses, but anyway. Those narrow roads are good, generally speaking, for traffic, but can cause problems with transportation for larger transportation. And then we had a long discussion about Vision Zero, which is the something that TTC has been working at, about a potential resolution for council to actually declare that we want to move towards 0 deaths on our roads. So that was the rest of the discussion. And I think
Thank you. I have been receiving a lot of email about Seminole.
It's bad.
It's gonna be. It's gonna be fixed. It's gonna start. Construction is gonna start October 7, and it's gonna be done by mid-October. So it's coming.
Yeah, the biggest problem with it is it's really hard to tell the center line, and people are all over that road, and it's dangerous.
Yeah.
And I got to say, like, I gave you the feedback a few months ago, living just off of Richardson, and that should never have lasted from before Memorial Day until after the 4th of July, and now driving on Nesbitt and Seminole. This is inexcusable to me. Come on, you know how to repair streets. You shouldn't have months gap between ripping stuff out and then just leaving it bumpy. Throw down like a really temporary asphalt layer or something. I just cannot believe that our city has left it like that, because to me, it's such a bad impression of our city. You're driving around and it's just like, what the hell? You can't get your streets to to a reasonable shape.
The issue is that the contractor, we don't have control sometimes with the contractor. They can say.
Sounds like you need better negotiators.
I do have to say, as somebody who rides a road bike on all of those roads, that's, I think, our biggest liability. There's a real good chance somebody wipes out with how uneven that is, and I think if that's the state of the road, I think it puts us at a bit of a pickle in the fact that I ride on that. I do not enjoy it right now, and it's a risk. And so I think, to Stephen's point, this is a long time for it to be in that state. And I think in the future, whatever we can do, I would say, to make sure that the contractor isn't allowed to.
And I think that we need to inform I don't know, I haven't seen anything. I think we need to send a flash news, because I thought they told me that they were sending that last week, because people want to know exactly when we're going to fix this.
Facebook posts or next door posts would get the news out fast enough, and at least to give people an idea. Is this just after Nesbitt lasted a few weeks? I started wondering, is this just how it's going to stay? Because it has been months.
We asked about it on Osmondson, and I'll be honest, I think people are getting terrified that winter's coming, and that it still feels like this. And so
it's going to be fixed. Don't worry.
I agree with the press release and putting it out, because I think it's going to put a lot of people at ease if that's.
I think someone that can push something too. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So thank you, Diana. Any?
Yeah, I do just want to offer a couple of notes of interest that might be to this commission. The Greenfield Neighborhood Steering Committee number 5, that Greenfield Neighborhood Plan, that is on Thursday at 5:30. Right now, staff has Concept 1 and Concept 2, which I shared last month. We haven't made any major changes there. What we're bringing to steering committee on Thursday evening is those 2 concepts and some suggested staff changes that could be helpful. Our hope is to have, at least out of steering committee, a little bit more firm direction of where the plan is going in terms of land use. Staff is already suggesting greatly reducing the density in some areas of the proposed neighborhood. We are proposing to make sure that there's sufficient storm drainage areas, open space, corridors. We are proposing that there would be no direct connection between East Hill Drive and West Hill Drive, which are two existing neighborhoods, to the new neighborhoods. We're hopeful that we're getting closer to kind of a middle ground with the neighborhood, and what hopefully council will support.
And we need to see before New Year's.
Yes. And then next week on Thursday is the South Stoner Prairie neighborhood plan. Their next steering committee, that would be on the 26th of September at 5:30. We're a little bit farther along on that planning process. And so now we have our future land use areas pretty well set, which I reviewed last month. We're moving into more of the engineering piece on that development. So we're moving along quite nicely on that one.
Okay.
Both this week's steering committee meeting and next week's steering committee is open to the general public, and of course you're all welcome to join us. That's all I have.
Oh, what about
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, we are so happy to announce also that on September 9th, Jessica Wolf started in the planning department. She is the new community development program coordinator. We've been working for a little while to get that position filled. Thank you to the mayor for supporting that position. Jessica will be managing our Healthy Neighborhoods programs, working with our priority neighborhoods. So like the H&I grant program, our Neighborhood Navigator program, and she is off and running on working on an update on the Healthy Neighborhoods Initiative Strategic Plan. Yeah.
Okay. Good to know. Okay. Any questions, comments? Any other announcement? No? Okay. So next meeting, I am not going to be able to be here, so Stephen, you're going to be in charge. Okay. All right, thank you. Okay, I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor to adjourn the meeting at 7:53, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion? The meeting is adjourned. Thank you.